Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and I'm so excited to start our new breakdown series on The Undoing. I just want to get straight into it, but obviously there will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to check out the episode yet, then I highly recommend that you turn off now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as we'll be breaking down every episode week by week, and you definitely don't want to miss any of them. Now with that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Let's get into the breakdown. Okay, so the theme tune of The Undoing is Dream a Little Dream of Me, which I believe is sung by Nicole Kidman herself. I was given early access to the episode, and the linear notes of it haven't been posted online yet, so let me know if I'm incorrect, which, let's face it, wouldn't be the first time. Anyway, the song has clearly been chosen for a reason, and I believe that it holds a lot of subtext to one of the central themes in the show. Now, not to jump too far ahead, but The Undoing is actually based heavily on the book You Should Have Known. This centers around a woman's life unravelling as she discovers her husband Jonathan isn't really who she thinks he is. Jonathan becomes the prime suspect in a murder investigation, and we will likely follow her as she gets to the bottom of this. I'm not going to go any further beyond what happens in that, as I don't want to ruin the entirety of the show, but as it's in the trailer, I think it's okay to discuss how that motif is set up here. Now, Dream a Little Dream of Me is of course referring to Grace, played by Kidman, and how she initially views her life with her husband and their son Henry. Everything seems perfect, and on the surface, her life is almost like a dream. The child that appears in the introduction seems to be a younger version of Grace, and she even wears what appears to be a wedding dress at one point in the intro. It symbolises that in her marriage, she is pretty much a child and not fully aware of the situation at hand. Throughout this episode, there is this feeling that she's almost above others, and nowhere is this demonstrated more than in the therapy session that we see her giving early on. She talks things through with a client known as Rebecca Harkness and accuses her of being unable to see men for what they really are. Because of this, Rebecca has gone from marriage to marriage to marriage, looking for something that she believes is there when it's revealed not to be over time. Rebecca says that her husband is bipolar, meaning that he has almost two sides, and that she's unable to truly work out what's going on with him. Now, this conversation is ironic, as Grace herself cannot truly see her husband for what he is, and she lives almost in this bubble of idealism, only accepting the version of reality that she wants to. Jonathan pretends to be allergic to dogs to his son, and Grace plays along with this, almost accepting this version of events, even though the truth is much darker. She even rings about hotels trying to locate him at the end of the episode, and gets through to someone with his name who is a completely different person. This hammers home the duality to the character and poetically brings to life that there are two versions of Jonathan that exist. Now, I know Jonathan isn't literally two people, yeah, and this person on the phone isn't him, but the symbolism of his dichotomy I feel is definitely there with this. It shows just how oblivious Grace really is to the true nature of their marriage, and I love the way that this aesthetic carries on throughout the entry. At one point, Grace and Jonathan even talk about how their son Henry is unprepared for the real world because they've kept him trapped in a bubble, and it becomes clear that Grace is in one too, unable to truly comprehend the way that the world is. Her entire life is pretty much built around repetition and order, and nowhere is this exemplified more than when we see her going about her routine. The exact same music plays, and even the scene itself is shot almost beat for beat. Grace and her friends are all about image, and we very much get the idea that everything is surface level, all simply pageantry. This aesthetic is cemented in an auction, which is being held for the school in order to raise funds for the fantastic teachers who are so good that they aren't even invited to the event. Jonathan complains about this fundraiser when he says he already pays for the school. However, it's actually Grace's father who's bankrolling their son's education, and yeah, no one has a real grasp of what's truly going on. There's also a comment on how the school does certain things purely for diversity, and again, there's this subtext here that it's likely just a marketing tactic in order to help out the school's image. Any actual honesty is looked at with disgust, and we see this through the entry, namely in how people treat Eleanor, a woman who we learn is brutally murdered. At one point in the episode, she breastfeeds her child, and though this is pretty commonplace, the rest of the group look down on it, showing that they would rather have certain things hidden away from public view, namely what they class as personal. Everyone is trying to just seem like they're good people, when in reality they probably aren't. Now, I absolutely love this duality that exists in the characters, and I do think it's very subtle that the show pretty much laces every single person with a flip side to their personality. The only one who is honest and willing to bear all is Eleanor, who strips down at one point and just respect personal boundaries, yeah. Now, we learn that Eleanor's son was accepted onto a scholarship at Reardon School, the prestigious academy to which Grace is a committee member of. Eleanor is very much only involved with them because of her son's abilities, and thus she's sort of viewed as an outcast. Eleanor clearly has some mental issues as well, and when she's at the meeting, she makes several strange glances towards Grace, sits outside the school just staring into it, and also, again, has no damn personal boundaries. Now, something is clearly off with her, and the brief interactions we do get make it seem like she's hiding something, which we likely won't find out about, probably because she's dead. Now, as mentioned earlier, Grace and Jonathan attend an auction, and here Eleanor just seems to be staring at Grace throughout. However, it's also possible that she is looking at Jonathan. I'm kind of joining the dots here and being Captain Obvious, but Jonathan is of course tied to her murder in some way, as we know that he does become a suspect in the case. This is all just shown in the trailer, and though we don't know who was behind the attack, I can tell you it's not Hugh, it's me. You having that? Now, pretty much right after Eleanor arrives, Jonathan tries to make Grace leave, even though they just got there. When Grace comes back from the elevator, Jonathan starts asking questions immediately, and it all seems to be pointing one way. When Eleanor goes, he suddenly doesn't really want to leave the party anymore, and instead stays with Grace until he decides to leave himself under the guise that he has a patient to attend to. Jonathan arrives later that night, and as we see from Eleanor's partner, she doesn't return home. Eleanor is later found dead the next day, and we know it's not the boyfriend, but we can't really account for Jonathan's whereabouts beyond the hospital. Now, not long after Eleanor's body is discovered, Jonathan disappears, leaving his phone at home, and he would likely only do this if he was aware that she was dead before it made the news. Thus, something is clearly going on here, and though I don't want to spoil the series just yet, things all seem to be pointing towards him. The episode ends with Grace discovering that he's in fact vanished, leaving behind the only way to contact him. Things are strange, and I'm guessing that next time the attention will fall on her as the police try to get to the bottom of Eleanor's death. In the book, the character was actually called Malaga, and I think that this name change has been done on purpose to perhaps show that the series could go a different way. Maybe it was the sun. There was a strange reason why he missed the bus. That's a terrible theory, isn't it? However, what a great episode this was, and I have to say I really enjoyed it and its multiple layers. I think there's a lot of things that they could do here, and with the season just being 6 episodes long, I'm expecting quite a condensed storyline that doesn't really mess about with filler episodes. This was a great premise, and hopefully you enjoyed the breakdown too. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the first entry, as well as what your theories are. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up, and make sure you check out our breakdown of the finale of Lovecraft Country, which is going to be linked at the end. Don't forget, we're also giving away 3 copies of the Marvel Phase 1 box set, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below. The winners are going to be chosen at random on the 30th of October, so make sure you get involved. If you want to support the channel and get to see content early, then please consider clicking the join button below. You can also come chat to us on the Discord server, linked in the description, or Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. Thanks for making it until the end of the video. You've been the best. I've been Paul. I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.